Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. BTB Analytics. I am Steve. That is Seth. We are down a man today, but that's not going to stop us. We have things to break down. So we're going to go over the top matchups today, give you some edges, some perspectives. We're going to go let you know what our free model play of the week is going to be. The same model that went 9-2 last year, getting that 59.4% year to date, which is exactly where we want to be. And we'll give you a little sneak peek as to what other bets we are betting this week. And if you want to see for yourself what we're doing, as always, you go to btb-analytics.com. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. The first matchup we're going to break down here, LSU versus Vanderbilt. Number 10 LSU 5-1. Number 17 Vandy 5-1. And this may come to a surprise to some of us. Vandy favored -2.5. So Seth here, clearly it's a high profile matchup. For those who are going to be betting on this, we show no edge. Our model is right on market at -2.5. But what do the people need to know if they're going to lay some chips down on this game?
Yeah, like you said, it's surprising at first look. I don't think Vandy's maybe ever been favored in this matchup, so I'm sure they're excited, and it's not a mistake. Vandy should be favored in this game. We are pretty much right on market. We make this number about -2.5, -3. The reality is this LSU team is very interesting, very different than years past. Really, really good on defense and really struggling on offense. If you got to see them against South Carolina last week, they couldn't score from the 1 yard line with 4 plays. So pretty disturbing here for this LSU offense, but really strong on the defensive side of the ball. LSU is number 31 in pass defense and number 26 in rush defense. But Vandy is real deal this year. They are running through the SEC. The really only hiccup has been Alabama. Vandy is number 14th passing offense and number 5th rushing offense. So this is a real deal team, and it's really going to be strength on strength. It's going to be Vandy's offense on LSU's defense. And the reality here is it's going to be LSU's bad offense against Vandy's mediocre, average to maybe a little bit below average defense. So it's not a surprise here that Vandy is favored. They should be favored in this game.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head here. I think we've always gotten used to LSU's offense being this great thing, but like you mentioned, this offense has been stuck in road. And listen, I know LSU is 5-1, but I gotta imagine things are pretty tense in Baton Rouge because this is the stretch where things get real, and we're going to see who this LSU team is. Yes, we talked about it multiple times here. They beat Clemson, but that win is not looking nearly as good as it did a month ago. And now you've got Vandy this week, Texas A&M next week, and then Bama after that. And so it's not unreasonable to say LSU could go 0-3, especially if they don't get this offense together. So I think it's going to be the real deal. So again, no value for us from a model standpoint, but we have plenty of bets. Don't you worry. But again, we do lean Vandy -2.5. I guess that line makes sense then. All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well then I guess moving on then. And again, if you guys want to see every output for every D1 college football game, we show you what our model spread is, what the cover probability is, and where the best book is, so you can figure out where the edges are and are not. Be sure to head up to btb-analytics.com. All right, I guess we are sticking with the SEC theme heavy here. Next up, we got Tennessee versus Alabama. All right, so number 11, Volunteers, 5-1. Number 6, Bama, 5-1 as well in Bryant-Denny. Now, this is Bama -8.5. Our model says Bama -10 at 9.5, 8.5. There's not really enough edge for us to bet it, but it does seem that our line agrees with, or excuse me, our model agrees with the line so far. Bama chasing its 4th straight top 20 win. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it. When the season started and they lost to Florida State, I was definitely not on the Bama bandwagon. I thought this was it. But lo and behold, they've rounded out victories over Georgia, Vandy, and Mizzou. Now, Tennessee's entering this one with 1 loss. And quite frankly, that 1 loss to a Georgia team that they could and probably should have won that game if it weren't for a missed late field goal here. And so you're looking at the major playoff hopes are still alive for Josh Heupel. Joey Aguilar is really slinging that thing at the quarterback position here, and they've got momentum. So again, Seth, I ask, people are looking at this and thinking, oh, this is Tennessee of old. It's Bama's SEC. It's going to be a blowout. Are you supporting that narrative, or are you telling people to maybe pump the brakes a little bit here?
Well, and there's one other part, the revenge aspect. This is Alabama went on the road last year into Knoxville and lost. So, they have that on their minds. And I think it's points here. You can see the market in the over-under market at 59, and it makes sense. Both these offenses are high-powered. Alabama, number 5 passing offense, number 92 rush offense. So I guess they're going to be throwing the ball. And then Tennessee, number 12 passing offense, and number 26 rushing offense. So for me, I think this is an opportunity for Ty Simpson to continue his Heisman run and put it in, maybe even solidify here with another SEC win, because I do think that Alabama is going to have to throw the ball here in order to have success. Tennessee, number 63 in stopping the pass, number 77 in stopping the run. So they can try a balanced approach here for Alabama. I'm sure they'll have a little bit more success running the ball, but I still think they're going to be relying on Ty Simpson here, which they have pretty much all season with that top 5 passing offense. So I think that the market's got this right. Our model puts this number, if you ignore the market, at 13.5. So you can ignore the market. We don't think you should, but if you do, we think Alabama rolls tide here, metaphorically speaking. So I do think that Alabama can roll here. The questions I have is, can they get enough stops? This Alabama defense is actually not as strong as we've seen in years past. 49th stopping the pass, 69th stopping the rush. The market's telling us this is going to be a shootout at 59. Can Alabama cover that 10? That's or that 8.5. So you got to get to basically at least 10. That's the most probable outcome you're going to get. So I want to be a believer here. I think there's a lot of narratives to buy Alabama. I just am not sure about that defense. We saw it against Mizzou. They were winning the game, they were covering the game, and they gave up meaningless points.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. And we've talked about this a few times too. And really, for me, what it comes down to is you see Tennessee's offense, they can be balanced when they have to be, and they can be pretty explosive, really coming off the play actions and RPOs under Hypo's kind of tempo scheme. But what stands out is, shout out PFF, they are top 10, maybe in Tennessee, top 10 in pass protection. That O-line can hold up when it has to. And that concerns me. And we said this multiple times. Bama's pass rush, ranking 114th. And so, to your point here, if they're going to throw the ball, if Tennessee's going to throw the ball here and Bama can't get home, then yeah, I think this goes to the shootout narrative. And all of a sudden, maybe 2 scores is not so unreasonable. But if Bama can get anything going, then yeah, I got to put my faith back in the model. I can see how Bama can sort of eke this thing away here. So to me, that's going to be a really interesting matchup. And how they put here. But I think Josh Heupel's time, if it's not now, when, right? I think for Tennessee team, I think they've made huge strides here, but I'm with you here. Maybe let's not get too crazy on a Tennessee train here.
No, I can be a buyer of Tennessee here. I guess I'm just inclined to believe that Ty Simpson's kind of just playing one step above at the quarterback right now. But we kind of called this at the beginning of the season. We thought Tennessee would be somewhat good. We warned people about the blue chip ratio. This is a team that should have been able to reload. And guess what? They could. They did. So I can see Tennessee covering this game. There's even a world where Tennessee wins this game because Alabama's defense has been so shaky, and it really hasn't allowed them to pull away. They basically only covered to memory here against Vandy, and that was a late backdoor. So when we're betting the spread here, it's hard for me to believe that 13.5 number of our model, which is why we don't ignore the market. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of game states where Aguilar and co, run this ball more than maybe they throw it. They eat up a lot of clock. This game goes way under that 59 number. You stay somewhere in the 40s. Alabama is going to win that, or sorry, Tennessee would win that type of game. And quite frankly, that's how they did it last year.
That's a great point. One last note here, I want to shout out, because we talked about this in weeks past here. Ty Simpson, I believe his odds are down to, I think I saw around plus 380, plus 400 area for Heisman. Going into that Georgia stretch. I mean, he's been playing lights out. So you guys have to tickets early, good on you.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when that material injury happened, and so the probability had to go somewhere, and he had the run. It's all about narrative here. But I think that could change quickly. They lose this game, no doubt those odds are going to spike back up because, you still have Miami doing well. There's a couple of other quarterbacks that definitely can pull away here, but Ty Simpson has the schedule to follow through with the story that is so important for Heisman.
Yeah, no, I'm with you all the way, all the way. All right, well, that being said, let's move back on, and don't forget we have our free model play coming up in just a couple of breakdowns after this. You can always find this at btb-analytics.com, but we're going to give you guys some model edges, a free play here, and let you know a little bit of a teaser, all the games that we're on this week. But before we get to there, let's go to the next matchup. I am excited for this one. Rivalry is a theme here. USC versus Notre Dame here. Number 20 USC 5-1 versus number 13 Notre Dame 4-2. I think we all remembered here Notre Dame started off with high hopes, high aspirations, and then lost back-to-back games to open the season to Miami and then to Texas A&M. Their playoff hopes seemed all but dead because they didn't have another ranked game. Well, then what happened? USC goes absolutely ballistic. They slipped against Illinois, but they get their ranked status back with a win over Michigan last week. And now all of a sudden, you've got, if you're Notre Dame, you've got hope, right? You're not out of it just yet, especially ranked at number 13. So obviously huge, massive playoff implications for both teams. For Notre Dame, if they lose, their playoff hopes are effectively done. USC, no slouch. What Jordan Maeva has been doing has been absolutely breathtaking, at least in my opinion, and their offense is absolutely humming. So our model makes this USC plus 10. So at the 9.5, there's a slightly negative edge, so we're not betting this. But again, Seth, it's a rivalry game here. People are going to put some money on it. What do they need to know before they place that bet?
Yeah, so USC in our database is number 1 passing offense and number 1 rushing offense. So USC is the best offense in our database, best offense in college football. Notre Dame, they're not so bad themselves. Number 16th passing offense, number 34 rushing offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I never thought I'd say this, but USC is actually also a little bit better than Notre Dame. 33 against the pass, 32nd against the rush, where Notre Dame is 67 and 71. And this is a word or a phrase I do not utter basically ever. But this week, specifically for this specific game and only this game, fade the model. And I'll tell you why. When you create models and when you create winning, strategies, you have to have priors. And priors are just a fancy way of talking about who and what a team is using prior data, right? Who are they last year? Who are they in some subset of sample? And it's highly predictive. It's highly predictive. In this case, one of the issues with our prior, we use something called an ELO rating. Doesn't matter what it is. But long story short, when we look at Notre Dame's losses this year, because they've only lost to good teams, they aren't impacted. It isn't, say, like a Penn State when they lose to USC, their ELO tanks. Well, we haven't had, Notre Dame have that loss to a smaller school. So their ELO is very high because this is a team that made the national championship last year. And it's not going to catch up until they lose to a team like USC. And I think USC has all of the boxes checked here for how and why they might be able to beat Notre Dame. So I'm fading the public here. I'm fading the model, whatever. Maybe I'm on the public. I'm sure the public probably likes USC here. But again, high offense, and the defense is actually slated to be better than Notre Dame. This Notre Dame defense is nowhere near this top rated pass defense that they were last year. They're in the 60s. Fade the model by USC. I think you can take the points. I even think you should consider money line.
Ooh. Wow. Never thought I'd hear the day. And that actually makes us feel a little bit better when we get into our author number segment, because I feel like you're pumping me up right now.
Oh no, we might have the same off the number.
Oh, do we? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, well, there was no collusion there. So none of this Kevin craziness that he does here. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think this is one of the ones where you can say this about a couple of teams, in my opinion. Not to go off topic here, but I think I completely agree with the Notre Dame, everything you just said about that. Obviously we're seeing the downfall of Penn State, right? And then are we seeing the resurgence of UCLA, where all of a sudden these teams are just so drastically different that the team that's on the field today is so completely different than the priors of who they have been, that you almost feel like you can't trust them. And I do agree. I'm not saying that's the end of the world for Notre Dame here, but I completely agree. I mean, this defense is not what we thought, and that's kind of really what they hung their hat on.
Yes.
And if there were ever a weekend to figure that out, it's going to be this, because you already mentioned it. Looking at this season stats, USC number 1 in EPA per play, number 1 in EPA per drawback, number 8 in EPA per rush. Notre Dame slot coverage 125th nationally. I mean, this is not going to be great potentially. It's supposed to rain in South Bend. I don't think there's a ton of for the wind stuff, so I don't know how much that's going to really be a factor. I've seen the weather argument come up, but regardless, rain, sleet, sun, or shine, I mean, I think this is going to be a matchup where it does favor USC's strengths over Notre Dame's weakness. And we've seen this play out before. Yes, I get it. It was earlier in the season, but that defense, regardless of what happened with CJ Carr at the quarterback position, the defense was supposed to be ready, and we saw them get carved up. So,
yeah, and the market's also telling us the over-under right now sitting at 62. This is going to be a shootout. They're saying nobody's got defense. But why that's an important, thing is how is Notre Dame going to win in a shootout? We saw them try to do that against Texas A&M. They didn't win that game. I don't understand here, well, I kind of do understand what's going on. You've highlighted it. But I just, when we're talking about a 10-point spread for the best offense, if there is weather involved, they're also the number 1 rush offense going up against the 71st rushing defense of Notre Dame. They can win that game too. You want to have a slugfest here where you run the ball, you eat the clock, that's also going to go in USC's favor. So whether this is a shootout throwing the ball, I think USC should be favored, or at least should be considered on the spread. And then if it is a weather game and they got to run the ball, they can do that too. I think with 62 points, covering 10 points for the number 1 offense, to me is a slam dunk. Fade the model here. We know why it's weak here. We know, and look, I wouldn't recommend this. Only recommend this to professionals here. You got to be a professional. You use priors because they work most of the time, 95% of the time. There's these really, 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 really unique cases like Penn State, like Notre Dame, where things can happen so quickly, especially in a world with the portal, with college, athletes. These teams can be so different than who they were, because even if you take a top 5 team and they're now a top 30 team, that's a very, very different thing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I want to be clear though. We're getting some comments. Shout out, Mike. Here. Let's not go alt season degenerate mode, but I'm seeing some USC win by double digits.
Oh yeah,
USC all day. Listen, I'm not one to rain on your parade, guys, but let's maybe let's start with some alt line plus points for USC before we go into everything else.
Oh, look, I'm on money line. My off the numbers is money line USC.
Ooh.
But I mean, I want to be clear here. Our model, I think our raw model number is Notre Dame by 11.5. Okay. I promise you, I understand why the model can be wrong here. It's probably not. Yeah. It's like that would be a 22 point error but from the model. That's extremely rare. You're talking like 2 standard deviations. So yeah, that's some gnarly degenerate talk. But hey, I'm here for it. Fight on.
Yeah. Fight on. All right, let's go back to the SEC in our next matchup. We've got 2 more to break down for you before we get to the free model play. The only top 10 matchup of the weekend. Ole Miss, number 5 versus number 9 Georgia here. Now, we got Ole Miss. Now, our model makes this a number Ole Miss +7. You can currently find them at +7.5 in the market. Slight edge at 1%, just not enough for us to bet for our threshold to give out to our customers here. But this is going to be interesting here. So clearly, this SEC headliner, Georgia, maybe seeking some revenge. Let's talk about this revenge theme here. After losing 28-10 to Ole Miss last year, one of Kirby's few blemishes in recent years. Ole Miss undefeated this year, but they looked pretty damn shaky against Washington State. They were able to come back. I think they were down 14-0, came back, but they were, I forgot how big of a favorite they were, but they were huge favorites and almost lost outright. So I guess for me, Seth, we talk about this 1-score game. The kind of the word around town, the concern for Georgia has been their slow starts. I think in about almost 4 of their games so far, they've been down in the first quarter, kind of look sluggish. They've been kind of taking time to get their their gears going, if you will. So if you are talking to the people who are saying that this is a slam dunk one way or the other, what should they know before they go all in on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting matchup. It's basically going to be Ole Miss's pass offense against Georgia's run offense. Ole Miss, number 9 passing offense, going up against Georgia's 93 ranked pass defense. Very susceptible Georgia is against the pass. And then on the other side of the ball, Georgia, number 40th in rush offense, going up against the 118th rush defense of Ole Miss. So this is Trinidad versus Chancey, the running back on Georgia. And I don't know who's going to win, but it's really hard for me to envision a world where you're not considering taking that 7.5. Our raw model number for Ole Miss is -6.5. So we're right there on market, but that 7 and a hook isn't as important as the NFL. By no means is it the same probability, but it's worth a consideration here only because it's a question of who's going to win. If that Ole Miss passing offense is what allows them to get in a shootout, I think it's more probable they can cover that 7.5 number. If Georgia can take control of this game and they can grind on the ground, which it looks like they should be able to do, again, 118th rushing defense for Ole Miss, what that's going to do is it's going to eat clock. When you eat clock, you lower the total. When you lower the total, you have kind of these weird outcomes. But honestly, I think that also is a little bit in the favor of Ole Miss. So I like the consideration here for a 7.5 for Ole Miss. But to me, this is just going to be an old-fashioned, like, how well can Ole Miss bomb the game in the air yards, and how much can Kirby and co, run and eat clock on the ground.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is one of the ones where, kind of going back to Georgia's offense, excuse me, and their slow starts here, but also their successes, right? They're amongst the worst in the SEC in third down conversion and air yards per attempt here. And so, to your point, if Ole Miss can really get going and slinging that ball here, yes, we talked about how Gunnar Stockton has been doing things this year, but I don't know if this is the matchup again where it really allows them to take advantage of all their strengths against Ole Miss's weaknesses, quite frankly. And I think, quite frankly, it does kind of line up in the opposite way where Ole Miss can maybe take advantage of some of these things here. Now, again, Ole Miss was 32.5-point favorites last week. So you call it look ahead line, call it whatever you want, but can they produce? We saw them kind of falter, and is there a game script there? But I'm with you. That hook to me is crucial here. If you're having to lay money on this, I think personally I would feel a lot more comfortable with a 7.5 than I would a 7.
Yeah, and also to be, to acknowledge what happened last week. Kirby bailing himself out with "I'm clapping" when he's clearly calling a timeout. Auburn was winning that game. There was a touchdown that they basically are like, "No, it's not a touchdown." They very much could have lost that game, and you could argue, and I'm sure Auburn fans are arguing, they did lose that game. So Georgia, we know, is susceptible. They got bailed out of that game. They got bailed out of the Tennessee game. Ole Miss has a chance here, no doubt about it. 7 and a hook, I'd consider it. And we say that covers 54% of the time, right? So it doesn't meet our thresholds. We have really strict things here, but if you're looking for value, this is the game you want to bet on. Ole Miss is the side for sure. If you're gonna take it, 7.5, bet MGM right now -110. Highly consider it.
You heard it here first. All right, we got one last matchup, and then we're gonna go to our model play, our free model play, and then tease kind of what else we're betting on. Let's get into it. The Holy War, Utah versus BYU. First time since 2009 that both teams are ranked. Utah coming in at number 23 at 5-1. BYU coming in at number 15 at 6-0. BYU in the driver's seat for the Big 12, along with Texas Tech as the only 2 undefeated teams in the conference. Utah not far behind them. So obviously, this carries massive implications for the Big 12 title, for the college football playoffs. But let's not forget about the biggest thing: good old-fashioned, unadulterated hate for each other. One of the most bitter rivalries that you'll never hear of. I'm a little upset. This is going to be on Fox here. I think this really could have been the big time ESPN, whatever, college game day, etc. But it is what it is. All right. So Seth, people coming in here, our model makes this Utah -3, slightly negative edge for both teams at the current 3.5 line. And so if someone's picking a righteous side here, what should they know before they lay down that bet?
Well, they should know both these teams hate Arizona teams. They're coming off the clean sweep of all the Arizona schools, Arizona State and the University of Arizona, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't know. I mean, our model makes the raw model number here is -2 Utah. So we're pretty much right on market. Yeah, you can get a hook. We say it's not really worth very much. We think they can cover 52.6% of the time. That is BYU at the 3.5 number. And I do think BYU is going to have some success. Number 29th passing offense, number 11th rushing defense. And Utah's no slouch defensively, number 7th against the pass and number 66th against the run. So it looks like if BYU is going to have success, it's likely going to be on the ground. But when we go on the other side of the ball, Utah, number 38th passing offense, number 16th rushing offense, going up against a top 20 BYU defense, number 12 against the pass, number 14th against the rush. So where is Utah going to get that success? That's my one question here. Now, we basically make it a pick 'em at -2. So it's my brain, the model kind of are picking up that, look, BYU likely can run the ball here, and because of that, they can have some success. But this is going to be a damn good game. If you have to bet it, yeah, I think you have to take the dog here, unfortunately, at 3.5. But you can really convince me to, you just got to take Utah and pray here and just hope that you're going to get on the right side of an offense. We saw that BYU is susceptible last week. Arizona having success likely means that Utah can have success, and maybe through the air, which is where Utah probably wants to do it. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm bringing my popcorn to this. If I have to bet it, give me BYU plus 3.5.
Yeah. That's one of the things that really surprised me because, I thought the same thing. Obviously, we were together last week. Shout out College Station and Kyle Field. We were watching, we were on BYU -1.5 over Arizona, kind of sweating that out into the wee hours of the night. But
quite literally.
Exactly. When I think of these teams here, I think more of their offense. I mean, Bear Bachmeier and Devin Dampier, these quarterbacks have been absolutely electric here. And listen, we understand how the run tendencies kind of shake up. Utah can definitely have more of a balanced approach here, a run first approach here, or BYU can be a little more balanced. But for me, what kind of took me aback here is the total. I believe I saw it 48.5. And to your point, that highlights the strength of these defenses and what that really should come to play here. So that kind of took me and my mental model off a little bit, but look at the numbers. I definitely can see that. One thing I will bring up, Utah, absolutely elite offensive line, number 4 in pass blocking grade here, number 2 in pressure rate allowed. So if BYU cannot get home, look for Devin Dampier to throw that ball and throw it well all over. One other thing along those lines for BYU, one of their best pressure guys, linebacker Jack Kelly, he was out, shoulder injury. He is supposed to, or at least expected to play, but I would keep an eye on that. He was questionable going into this. But if they can't get pressure, I would also think points here. But the market doesn't really seem to buy the shootout, which to me was a little bit odd.
Yeah, well, and just to put some data to that, number 14 and number 23 in defensive points per equal, meaning these teams are not allowing teams to score field goals touchdowns, but really holding them to field goals or better. So I think points are not going to be flying off the shelf here. I saw the same thing around 49. And again, another reason I think you kind of want to talk or take the team that is, able to run the ball, which is likely BYU. Going to eat clock. There's already going to be not a lot of points in this game. And I think BYU can eke out, that 13-10 kind of win.
Yeah. All right. Well, can't wait. We're going to pray for a good one. And along those lines, we're going to move on to off the number. So if you guys are not familiar, we have a friendly competition between the three of us, just using our own sort of handicapping skills outside of the model to just see who is the best handicapper in the group. Some quick updates. Kevin, he's been on some kind of funny shenanigans stuff lately. We'll have a talk with him and an intervention later on, but he's 5-3. And he can't be here today, so I'll give his pick for him. He's on Oklahoma, South Carolina, under 43.5 for -115. I guess he's really expecting those defenses to kind of show out. And, Mateer coming back, not really doing much, maybe keeping Sellers in check there. will be my guess here. But Seth, going on to you, you're at 4-3. What do you have for the people? You teased it. Take us on home with it.
Yeah, and I'm coming off of a plus 165, Georgia minus 6.5. So, I'm going to keep my 4-3 record. That's like way plus units here. And I teased it. The model's wrong here. The market is wrong here. And I know that the market is held up by other really smart people like us, and priors you need to use them for a reason. By and large, they are way more right than they are wrong. This is one of those times when it's wrong because Notre Dame was so good last year. And they've only lost to good teams. They haven't lost to any bad teams. Well, USC is going to be another one of those good teams that they lose to. I think that they're going to lose in a shootout. I think I don't want to get crazy. I think if USC does win this game, it's less, a touchdown or less, likely a field goal. So give me USC money line plus 270, best number I could see. Bet MGM.
This might be the season right here for off the numbers. I mean, if you get this. Plus 165, you said, plus 270 back-to-back?
And I had plus, I think I had a plus 160 for Vandy when they played South Carolina as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm feeding the people. And the model won 80% last week, 60% on the season. I mean, we're cooking. We were just cooking over here.
All right. So I'm going to follow you up with that. You and I are on the same page here. My balls aren't quite that big. I'm taking USC plus 9.5 or minus 110. You can find a number else everywhere in the market. I got it at Caesars. But everything you just said, I think this is going to be a matchup where it's absolutely going to expose the Notre Dame defense and their weaknesses. And if Notre Dame does win this game somehow, I cannot fathom a world where it's a blowout by 10 points or more. So I'm taking the points, USC plus 9.5, minus 110.
The back door should be open in that game. There is a world where the model's right. And then, quite frankly, that's the majority of the worlds we live in, is the model's right here. But I think even in that case where, Notre Dame is winning by 14 for a lot of the game, the back door is going to be wide open with an offense, number one offense, right? So they're going to be looking to score late. So I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. The moment you all have been waiting for, we have it. One free model prediction. We gave out Pitt plus 10.5 last week. What do we have in store? Find out after this. Oh man, that promo goes so hard. I love it. It goes every time. Every time. All right, so we are back with one free model play, and for this week, we are on Northwestern minus 3.5. We have this at minus 102 over Purdue. Seth, can you shed any quick highlight on maybe what the model is picking up here to take the Wildcats over another upset over Penn State, which may or may not be that impressive as it would have been, a month ago. Yeah. But a win's a win, baby. So what are we seeing here? Yeah.
And a team that's had some success. They've had some blowouts. Look, this is no world beater in Northwestern, but what they are is a very solid run team, very solid Big Ten team. And they are going to go up against Purdue, who is on the up and up. But the reality is you're going up against the 130th pass EPA team. This Purdue team should have success both on the ground, but Northwestern should have success on the ground and in the air here, where the model is really picking up that Northwestern kind of just better on all sides of the ball, no matter how you slice and dice it. And with such a short line here, give us Northwestern minus 3.5. Looks like the market's actually moved. You can now get Northwestern minus 3, minus 115. We recommend playing it at 3.5.
Oh, there you have it. Free play record 2-1 so far. But our subscriber model, our actual model record, 38-26, sitting just a hair under 60%, which is amazing. That is where we want to be, because this is what winning sports betting actually looks like. So if you want to check that out for yourself, again, if you want to see the edges for every single D1 college football game, regular season, bowl games, etc., be sure to check us out at the BTB-Analytics.com. And before we go, let's give you a little teaser, because we are on 6 matchups this week here that we give out to our subscribers. But just a little sneak peek here. We've got some pretty big edges. We talked about Purdue versus Northwestern. We got some edges in the Old Dominion versus James Madison game, as well as the Nevada versus the Lobos game there. So we'll be on those and 3 more. Again, if you want to check that out, be sure to check out our website. Our models up there. We give out our plays directly to the email for all subscribers. We can check the model 24/7 whenever you want. And let's have a week. I mean, listen, we're not going to sit here and lie to you. You know, any one of these touts say, oh, I win, 90% of all my bets. We never lose. We got locks. Listen, we know that there's variance, right? We expect to win, obviously, but there is no rule that says you're going to win week in and week out. With that being said, when you put in the work, when you have the data, the odds are forever in your favor. So, not going to sit here and say we're going to go 9-2, or I guess in this case 6-0 or 5-1, whatever again, but we surely could. But let's just keep chopping wood, keep hitting our bets here, keep hitting on a 60% clip, and have a very profitable year. So with that, Seth, any last words for the people?
No, not the model is humming right now. Like you're saying, we're right where we think we should be, and it's really nice to see the model come together. We had a massive winning week last week, so that was always really fun. 6 weeks is 6 plays this week. We got some SEC games, some ACC games, some really big marquee. We have some action in the Louisville Miami game and the SMU Clemson game. So really excited to have some action on some marquee games, as well as some of the crazier ones, like you were saying, Old Dominion and others. So yeah, it's going to be a big week.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say here is, if you ever doubt us, if you ever say, oh man, these guys just making it up, these numbers aren't real, tell me the last time you've watched an Old Dominion game, right? Tell me the last time you've watched a Louisiana Tech game. Tell me the last time you've watched any of these sort of deep cuts from the Sun Belt League, right? No disrespect, no shade, but listen, edge is edge, value is value, and if those bets are hitting, we're going to play them. So with that being said, thank you all for watching here. Please, if you like this content, like this, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back every week doing college football. We'll be back tonight doing an NFL show. And so, as always, stay sharp and good luck. Till next time.